I get a lot of questions on studio lighting, like how do I light up my scene? Like where do I put my lights? How do I illuminate my background so it's nice and bright? What lights do I use? How do I deal with reflective surfaces? All those kinds of questions. And so I thought it'd be good to make a little lighting tutorial so that I can show you guys my lighting setup, how I light certain product photography scenes to do with beauty and skincare. And hopefully this will help you with your own studio lighting setups, as I know it can be a little intimidating and daunting when you are entering the studio light world. Now, one thing to remember when it does come to studio lighting is there's no hard and fast rules. So, it's not like you must put your light here and you must, illuminate your scene like this. There are so many variables that go into product photography, and I just think it's good to get creative and experiment with your lighting. So many photographers have different setups. It depends on their experience in the industry. It depends on the space that they're using. It depends on who they're shooting for and the mood that they're going with. And it also depends on the kind of equipment and gear that they've invested in. And if studio lighting is a little daunting or intimidating to you, just remember this: it's only a light. You turn it on, you move it around, get some effects that you think are cool, and you turn it off. There's obviously so much more that goes into that, like modifiers. You've got your scrims, your light boxes, soft boxes, umbrellas, lanterns, everything that can help you achieve different kinds of lighting looks. But it really depends on what you're going for. Now, if you're new here, hello, I'm Amanda and I'm a brand photographer based in Brisbane, Australia. Essentially, I just love to help other brand photographers build a successful business because I know how hard it can be to get started in the industry. So if you want to know more about me, you want to see more behind the scenes, go and follow me over on Instagram at Amanda Campiano, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So for this first scene, I'm going to show you my general setup that I use pretty much on an everyday basis for my product photography. There are times where I do change it up, but this is kind of my go-to setup first, and then I will move around from here. So let's do it. This is my go-to setup that I kind of always begin with when I start a product photography project. I've got my pink backdrop up today as well, so I'm going to be showing you a beauty photo shoot that I'm doing. This is a non-reflective backdrop from an online store called Hypop. Let me run you through what we've got. We have a Godox SL60W on the left-hand side here, and this is a really great beginner studio light. I recommend it to everybody. This is the light that I started with. It's incredibly affordable. I think it's about $250 or so Australian. It's an incredible light. It has really great output and it mimics natural daylight, which is exactly what I want. I then have another light on the right hand side of my scene, and this is my main light. So this is a Godox FV150, and it's a strobe and continuous light all in one. This was the second studio light I bought. It does have a stronger output, and I am really obsessed with this light. It is a little bit more expensive at around, I think, $550, $560 Australian dollars, but I can tell you it is 100% worth it to have it in your kit. Now, I have a large softbox on this light here, and I think it's about 57 inches. This is from a brand called Newer. And this is my other softbox here that I normally use. It is a smaller one. I think it's about 47 inches, but I'll put the links in the description box below for you so you can check it out. And this is from Newer as well. Now, I do get asked the question quite a bit as to whether I prefer a large or a smaller softbox. I always prefer a larger softbox because then my light is dispersed more widely over the scene. Having said that though, I actually really enjoy using shadows in so many of my photos. So what often happens is I might have a softbox on one light, whether it be this side or this side, it depends on what side I want my shadow, and I'll have the other light on harsh, so there's no softbox. And I adore shadow play. I adore playing with light, and I just think it adds more dimension and depth to a photo. So this is my general lighting setup, and it's really simple. I basically put one light on the right and I put one light on the left to ensure that both sides are nice and evenly illuminated. However, it really depends on the mood and look that you're going for. You might want to use just one light instead of two. It's totally up to you and to experiment with what you think looks good. This is the image that we are working on today, and I'll show you a little behind the scenes on this one as well. But generally for my lighting setup, I've got 2 lights on either side, with one light on harsh and the other with a large softbox. I have also shot 2 photos to achieve this final image. So I basically composited the 2 images in Photoshop to achieve the one image. And what I love about the Canon is that it's got a flip screen, so I can actually see what I'm doing. I want this to be like about there, I think. Shooting at 50 mil. Trying not to get that on the actual paper. So I'm gonna do a little burst mode here. Okay, now I'm gonna see that final shot. For this next scene, we are trying to achieve a soft and dreamy vibe. So we are shooting the bronzing custard for my client Vanity, and you'd probably think, all right, we need 2 softboxes to achieve that soft light. What I'm actually going to be doing is having one light with a softbox on and another light without a softbox, but I'm going to be using a go-between object to achieve a soft and dreamy vibe. And my background today is going to be my pajama shirt, because soft and dreamy vibes. So it's not just your lighting that will help you to achieve an overall look and vibe, it's also your background, it's your props, and it's how you position your lighting as well, and any other modifiers that you use that will help you to achieve a final look. So when a client engages with me, usually they send me a brief and they send me a mood board of inspiration photos, and I look at this so that I can ensure I am on point with the vibe they're going for. This is the image we're working on for that soft, dreamy vibe for my client Vanity. So my lighting setup, I've got 2 lights on either side, again with one light on harsh and the other with a large softbox, and I'm using a go-between object to achieve this soft, dreamy look. I've also added a lens flare in post-production just to put the finishing touches on this image. So let's go behind the scenes and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, so I've still got my pink background up because I am going to be using that for other shots, but we're going to pop this onto our backdrop. Just make sure it's double layered so we don't get too much of a pink hue coming through. And this shirt is really helping me to achieve the soft vibe with the background, because we don't want anything too harsh. And then I'm gonna pop the product just on here and kind of like bring up the fabric a little bit to create some ripples. All right, so now that we've got our background sorted, we need to then amend our lights to ensure we can get those soft, dreamy vibes for this shot. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is take off this softbox on my Godox FV150. Check that on the floor. And I'm just gonna move this about, I think, here. I'm just gonna bring it up a little bit and then angle it down. Now, when you're using your lights on harsh, it's a really good idea to not put your light too close to your product, because sometimes you can get really strong light reflections on the product, those like really strong white lines. It doesn't really look good. So a good way to avoid that is to just lift up your light a little bit. You might even want to point it towards the ceiling so that the light bounces off your ceiling if you have a white ceiling. Otherwise, just beaming down onto the scene like this is perfect. Now, what I am going to do is put my large softbox on this light here, and I want my shadow coming from this one, and what I'm gonna do is put a go-between object between my light and the product to create a soft and dreamy vibe. Okay, so I have with me here just a really old dry bunch of leaves, and what I'm gonna be doing is just putting them in between my light and my scene. Now, I actually want to decrease the output of this a little because it's a little bit too harsh for my liking. I want it a little bit softer. Now, the closer you have the go-between object to your product, the more prominent that shadow, the more precise you're going to see those leaves. And the closer you bring it to your light, the more shadow you're going to have over the whole scene. So I like somewhere about in between so that it's not completely harsh, of a harsh shadow, but just something nice and soft. And for this next scene, I'm going to be using just one light, and I've got it at the back of me here. I've put a modifier over it. This is a spotlight, and what this does, it just narrows the light a little bit more onto the scene as opposed to the light being more spread out. And I'm going to be using a white foam board on the left-hand side of my scene to just bounce light back onto the scene. So let's have a look and see what we can come up with. All right, so this is the final image that we have come up with, and I've got one light on the right-hand side using a spotlight and then my white foam board on the left. And I've also used a technique called focus stacking to achieve this final image. And the reason for this being is because I wanted both products to be 100% in focus as they are at different depths of field. And to make the image a little bit more eye-catching and creative, I've done a floating product effect with the mascara ones as well. So just remember, there's a lot of work that goes into post-production to achieve the final look, and I've done a lot of retouching on this image. So I'm shooting this image from a slightly lower angle to make the products more powerful. And what we're gonna do is bring the wand of the mascara outside of the bottle so that you can really see how the product is inside. So let's do it. So essentially, if you're using white foam boards, this is going to help you enhance your highlights and it bounces light back onto the scene. If you wanted to enhance your shadows, you would actually use a black foam board, and it's just really handy to have both black and white inside your kit. Now, my next lighting tip is to use smaller lights to accent your products and certain areas in your scene. These lights here are the Aperture MC RGB WW LED lights, and they're amazing. Now, firstly, they are magnetic, which is kind of cool. So what we do is usually have them on the back of our TV and it gives it a nice little glow as a backlight, but it has a range of features. So this is your normal mode, and I've got it on 5600 Kelvin to mimic natural daylight. But the other cool thing is that you can change the color of this. So we go to HSI and you can basically do, wait, let's put this all up to 100%. Saturation, intensity, and then hue. And now you can have any color that you want. How cool is that? And the other cool thing is that there's a range of special effects. So this one is called pulsing. We've got party. So it just goes through your colors. We've got lightning. That's pretty cool. We've got TV. Not sure why you'd need that. We've got a faulty bulb. It flickers. There it is. We've got fireworks. So that'll change colors. We have paparazzi, in case you want to, pretend like you're a celebrity, famous, whatever. And we have cop car, just in case you need that for something. I probably wouldn't put that on top of your car though. That's illegal. And they also come with these really cool soft boxes. So if the light's too harsh in the LED without the soft box, pop this on and it'll just soften that light a little bit. We bought 4 of these to start with, and 4 is just a really good number that can help you accent all different areas of the scene, and they're small enough to fit into so many different little spaces. So I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes on a product shoot right now where I'm going to be using these lights to accent my scene and my products. Alright, so this is the next scene that we're doing, and I've got a light on the right hand side. There's no softbox, it's my Godox FV150. And then we've got another light here with the softbox on, and really that's just illuminating from the side because I want my shadow to come from this light here. I want the shadow to be on the left-hand side. This is the final image we're working with for Vanity, and for this scene, again, I've got 2 lights on either side of my scene, with one light on harsh and the other with a large softbox. And then I'm using my 2 accent lights to illuminate the tea and the product packaging as well. And again, I've done quite a bit of retouching on this photo to color correct the products and also really clean up that background. And to show you what a difference retouching can make, the image on the left here is just a basic color grade that I've done in Lightroom. And the image on the right is my final image that I have full on retouched in Photoshop. So I really cleaned up everything and it looks a lot more on brand for Vanity. So this is my scene here, and what we're doing is we've got an aperture light on this side and an aperture light on this side. And what these are actually doing, it's not only illuminating the clear glasses with the tea, but it's also illuminating the texture of the border around the label. So if I were to turn these off, let's just see what happens. There's a lot less light. This isn't as illuminated. We don't get that bright and, I guess, glowy feel that these products should have. So let's turn these back on. So these lights are amazing to really accent different parts of your scene, and basically it just lifts this photo even more. And for my last lighting technique for product photography that I'm going to show in this tutorial, it is backlighting your products. Now, backlighting is especially good for products that have a transparent package, and a prime example of this is a perfume bottle. Now, I'm going to share an example from my portfolio here, and this is for my client Chlorine. And so because the shampoo packaging has that transparent nature, I really wanted to illuminate the product from behind and really capture that beautiful blue liquid. So what I've done is I've popped it onto a windowsill, and the natural light is backlighting the product. Now, for this photo, I actually had this softbox here and my Godox SL60W light that was illuminating the front of the photo ever so slightly. I just wanted a little bit of illumination, but the backlighting pretty much did all the work for me. So those are my 5 lighting techniques that I personally love to use. There are obviously so many more techniques that you can do, and it's really just about getting creative and experimenting with what you think looks good. If you think the scene looks good to your eye, most likely it's probably going to look good in the final photo. And just because you see my setup doesn't mean that this is the only way to do something. So many other photographers have different pieces of equipment that they personally love to use to help lift their images. And it's okay if you don't have that, but it's about you getting creative and knowing that there are no rules when it comes to lighting. So I do hope that you found this lighting tutorial helpful. I'm gonna link all the equipment that I use in the description box below, and don't feel intimidated or daunted by studio lights. It opens up a whole new world of creative product photography, and I could never go back to only using natural light. And if you want to know more about lighting and basically how to build a successful brand photography business, you can go and check out my online course, Become a Brand Photographer, where I've basically put my entire brain into an online course. And I keep updating that course as I learn new things as well. So if that's of interest to you, go and check it out. And if you do join, make sure that you go and join the private Facebook group as well. But if you have any questions on what I've covered today, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and go and follow me on Instagram if you want to see more behind the scenes and you want more tips and tricks. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.